The late renowned South African dancer and choreographer Dada Masilo is being remembered for her contribution to the industry and putting the country on the map. Masilo, who received a number of awards both locally and internationally, passed away on the 29th of December after a short illness at the age of 39. To reflect on Masilo's legacy, I'm now joined by Thami Tshabalala, who's also a dancer and choreographer, and Phyllis Klotz, the co-founder of Sibikwa Arts Centre. A very good afternoon to you both. Quite sad for the industry and many of those who dearly loved Dada Masilo. Thami, perhaps let's start with you. You had a personal relationship with her. You worked with her on a number of productions, Swan Lake and Giselle. Just talk to us about who Dada was on a personal level.
Oh, wow. Hi. It's with sad news to obviously be the one to be speaking of Dada at this moment. My first encounter with Dada Masilo was in 2013. She was literally my first professional encounter in my career whilst I was still studying at the Tshwane University of Technology. And from then on, I had worked with her her Swan Lake, her Giselle. Her recent one was The Sacrifice that premiered in Austria, Vienna in 2021. And man, Dada Masilo, a trailblazer of note, literally one of an impactful contemporary art icon of my generation, someone who was selfless in all that she did, someone who gave more than what she had to give. To be really honest, Dada gave many dancers work for a period that spanned over a decade. Most of us are where we are. We are the artists that we are because our paths crossed with Dada Masilo. That's mine and Dada Masilo so far.
Right. Phyllis, you with the Sibikwa Arts Centre, and when we speak of someone such as Dada, she's had all the training and all the accolades that she received over time, but I think arguably the Standard Bank Young Award catapulted her career exponentially, and that's truly when we got to see the beauty that was Dada Masilo. Just speak to us about what set her apart as an artist.
Well, she certainly had a distinctive style, dancing style, and very frenetic, in other words, very fast, frenetic movements. And also the fact that she took well-known Shakespearean plays like Romeo and Juliet and Macbeth and turned them into dances with this distinct African flavor. So no matter what she did, in fact, I was watching a clip of her dancing today, her Swan Lake, and it was South African. It was a South African dance. And I think she, besides her dance herself as a person, although I didn't know her very well personally, besides that, she served as a role model, and I hate that word because it's so hackneyed, but he was a young dancer. He served as a role model for other young people in the profession. And also her teaching. Not everyone's going to be a dancer because the pool is very small. But she gave, as Thami said, a lot of dancers work. And that's so important in our country. And also very important is she put South Africa, she was one of the companies that put South Africa on the international platform. And that's very important for us because it grows our industry. It gives our industry respect and acknowledgement.
It certainly does. Thami, Phyllis is talking about the difference that Dada brought. She's worked with William Kentridge, Gregory Maqoma, and she just pushed boundaries in interpreting the world of dance. Those classics that Phyllis makes mention of and how they are turned into African stories. As a dancer and as a choreographer yourself, how important is it for us to be able to interpret certain artistry and dance forms in a way that the African child can understand it?
As you just said, in the way the African child can understand it, Dada Masilo challenged global issues through the lens of the African child. Literally, Dada Masilo, she resembled visibility and representation of people of her kind in the arts globally. She made us believe that having a career in the arts is possible. The narratives that she told were very close to home. It actually made people go watch theatre because not in any derogatory or disrespectful way to the classical art form, but as Black people are not so clued up about the ballet world. So for her to take the classics, the ballet classic, and flip them around and give them an African flavor, an African narrative, literally drew a lot of patrons to the theater to actually be excited to see themselves on stage, to see their language, to see their culture, to see their norms being represented on stage. And I think that also brought and gathered a new movement of theater. More people started going to go watch theater. People of color invested more into watching theater because they saw themselves within Dada Masilo's narratives and the stories that she told, which is very important. Till this day, we are the artists, and the works that we still stand for and create, the subject matters, the issues that we tackle in our works are predominantly within our space, so that we can allow ourselves to genuinely heal together as a nation, to genuinely congregate together and move towards a space and a horizon that is greater and better than us, that we know we deserve initially, you know.
Right.
So that for me was the most important thing that she did for me.
Phyllis, you touched on this a little earlier, and just the employment opportunities that Dada created for many artists. Thami also alluded to it. We see with a lot of tributes on social media, a lot of people saying, she gave me a chance. I had my first job. I was able to travel abroad and be on Broadway and on certain stages because of Dada Masilo. As an arts center, how important is it for artists to be able to create that economic platform for those that are still coming into the industry?
Well, it's the baseline, you know, it's the baseline. At Sibikwa, we've always tried to give jobs, work to emerging artists. It's very, very important that people have stepping stones to that height of professionalism where Dada was at. So, but there are very few opportunities in South Africa. Perhaps there are 5 professional dance companies in the whole of South Africa. And that's very poor. That's not saying much in a population of nearly 60 million. So where do dancers go to get their first chances, to get their foot up the ladder, on the ladder? Where do they go? There are very few opportunities in South Africa. And so Dada created a whole spectrum of employment for dancers over many years. And that's very important. But she, you know, what will happen to those dancers now in her company? Where do they go? I need to consider that as well.
Of course. Thami, lastly and very quickly, we have run out of time. What in Dada's legacy would you take forward as a dancer and a choreographer?
Her artistry, her workmanship, her skill, and in her words, she always say, the arts are my personal injection. Without the arts, I do not know where I would be. This saved my entire life. This saved my soul. This made me who I am. I am Dada Masilo because I am an artist.
Right. Phyllis and Thami, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. It certainly is a very sad loss to the dance industry. We do appreciate your inputs this afternoon.